The crimson skies of Proxima B blazed with plasma fire as Lieutenant Emma Winters ducked behind a fallen crystalline pillar. Her combat suit's joints whined in protest as she rolled away from another explosion. The alien architecture around her, once a magnificent testament to the Vatari civilization, now lay in ruins, its ethereal spires reduced to glittering shards. Team Alpha, report status, she barked into her comm static answered. Days blended together in the Vatari medical facility as Emma immersed herself in their healing arts. Kanara proved to be a patient teacher, explaining how their advanced biotechnology worked in harmony with the body's natural healing processes. The elegant solution made Earth's medical technology seem crude by comparison. Emma watched in fascination as Kanara demonstrated the cellular regeneration chamber, her 4 hands dancing through the holographic controls. The healer's scales rippled with subtle patterns that Emma was learning to read: concentration, satisfaction, and something else she couldn't quite identify. Your kind heal differently, Kanara observed, adjusting the chamber's settings. Your body's fight change, resist external influence. It makes healing more challenging, but also speaks to your species' remarkable resilience. Emma flexed her newly healed arm, marveling at the lack of scarring. We're stubborn that way, she replied with a small smile. Though sometimes I wonder if that stubbornness is our greatest strength or our fatal flaw. Kanara's scales shifted to a deep purple, their equivalent of contemplation. Perhaps it is both. The same determination that drives you to resist healing also drives you to survive against impossible odds. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another patient, a young Vatari soldier with severe plasma burns. Emma instinctively moved to help, her hands finding the correct medical instruments before she consciously thought about it. She worked alongside Kanara with practiced ease, their movements synchronized after weeks of training together. As they stabilized the patient, Emma caught glimpses of Kanara watching her with an unreadable expression. Those violet eyes seemed to see straight through her carefully maintained professional demeanor, touching something deeper. Later, as they reviewed patient data together, Emma finally asked the question that had been haunting her. Why are you really teaching me all this? I'm still technically your enemy. Kanara was quiet for a long moment, their scales shifting through complex patterns. When I first found you on the battlefield, I saw something in you, a spark of recognition, perhaps. A willingness to see beyond surface differences. The healer's secondary arms moved in a gesture Emma had learned meant sincerity. Or perhaps I simply grew tired of watching both our peoples destroy each other when we could be learning from one another instead. Emma's heart raced at the intensity in Kanara's voice. Is that all it was? Professional interest. The healer's scales flushed with colors Emma had never seen before. No, Kanara admitted softly. That is not all. The air between them grew charged with unspoken possibilities. Emma took a step closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. Kanara's tall frame seemed to radiate warmth, and those alien eyes held emotions that transcended species barriers. Show me, Emma whispered. Show me how you really see me. Kanara lifted one hand to Emma's face with infinite gentleness. The touch sent electric shivers through her body. Through the physical contact, Emma suddenly felt waves of emotion that weren't her own: wonder, admiration, growing affection, and an aching loneliness that matched her own. Our species has a gift, Kanara explained, voice hushed. We can share feelings, memories, through touch. I never dreamed it would work with a human. Emma leaned into the contact, overwhelmed by the intimacy of the moment. I've never felt anything like this, she breathed. Nor have I, Kanara admitted. You are unique, Emma Winters. You've made me question everything I thought I knew about humans. And you've shown me that everything I was taught about the Vatari was wrong, Emma replied. We're not so different where it matters. A distant explosion shattered the moment. Reality crashed back as alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Emma's military training kicked in as she recognized the sound of orbital bombardment. They're targeting the hospital, she realized with horror. But this is a neutral zone, they can't dash. This war has moved beyond such niceties, Kanara said grimly, scales darkening to combat readiness. We need to evacuate the patients. As they rushed to help, Emma's mind raced. She had come to care deeply for the Vatari patients under their care. And Kanara, what they shared went beyond simple friendship or even attraction. It was a connection that defied explanation. But her duty, her loyalty to Earth, could she simply abandon everything she had sworn to protect? The choice loomed before her like an approaching storm as she helped load critical patients into evacuation pods. Kanara caught her arm as they worked. Whatever you decide, the healer said softly, know that you have changed me forever. You've given me hope that our peoples might someday know peace. Emma met those violet eyes, seeing her own conflict reflected there. Outside, the bombardment intensified. Time was running out. Soon, she would have to choose, but for now, they worked together to save lives, their hands brushing with unspoken meaning as the world burned around them. The evacuation facility deep beneath Proxima B's surface hummed with activity as Emma helped Kanara tend to the wounded. They had managed to save most of their patients during the orbital bombardment, but the cost had been steep. The main medical center lay in ruins above them, decades of healing knowledge destroyed in minutes of senseless violence. Emma's hands moved automatically through the familiar motions of changing bandages and checking vital signs, but her mind was elsewhere. During their frantic escape, she had touched Kanara's mind again through their strange connection. The depth of the healer's feelings had staggered her, not just for Emma, but for all life. She had glimpsed memories of thousands of patients, both Vatari and human, each treated with equal care and compassion. Your thoughts are troubled, Kanara said softly, approaching from behind. The healer's massive frame cast a gentle shadow over Emma's work. I accessed some of the facility's databases before we evacuated, Emma replied, turning to face those penetrating violet eyes. There's something you haven't told me about why this war really started. Kanara's scales darkened with what Emma now recognized as grief. You saw the truth then. About the first contact. Your people didn't attack our colonies, Emma said, her voice tight with controlled anger. You were trying to save them from a plague. But someone twisted the truth, used it to push for war. Yes. Kanara's secondary arms wrapped around their torso, a gesture of pain. We detected the virus in your outer colonies. It was engineered to target human DNA, released by a third party seeking to destabilize both our civilizations. We tried to help, but our ships were fired upon. The rest is blood-soaked history, Emma finished. She stepped closer to Kanara, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from the healer's scaled skin. Why didn't you ever tell me? Would you have believed me? Kanara asked softly. Or would you have seen it as manipulation, propaganda? One large hand lifted to brush Emma's cheek. I needed you to learn who we really are first. To see with your own heart. The touch sent cascading waves of emotion through their connection, truth, regret, and something deeper that made Emma's breath catch. Without conscious thought, she leaned into the contact, allowing her own feelings to flow through the link. Surprise colored Kanara's scales as the healer sensed the depth of Emma's attachment. This is dangerous, Kanara whispered, but didn't pull away. If your military discovers you've formed a bond with one of us, they're going to discover something far worse than that, Emma replied grimly. I have to warn both sides about what really happened. Someone engineered this war, and they're still out there. They'll brand you a traitor. Maybe. But I swore an oath to protect my people. All of them. Emma reached up to touch Kanara's face, marveling at how natural it felt now. And that includes you. The moment was interrupted by a sudden commotion near the medical bay's entrance. A group of refugees had arrived, humans this time, civilians from a nearby settlement damaged in the bombardment. Emma tensed, waiting for the inevitable fear and hostility when they saw Kanara. But something extraordinary happened instead. A small human child, no more than 6, broke away from the group and ran straight to Kanara. The healer knelt, all 4 arms gentle as they examined the girl's minor injuries. The child showed no fear, only curiosity at Kanara's shifting scales. "Pretty colors," the girl said solemnly, reaching out to touch Kanara's arm. To Emma's amazement, Kanara's scales rippled with patterns she had never seen before: joy, wonder, and profound hope. More refugees approached cautiously, drawn by the child's fearless example. Emma watched in awe as humans and Vatari began to interact, centuries of prejudice giving way to simple necessity and growing understanding. "This is how it begins," Kanara said quietly, rising to stand beside Emma. "Not with treaties or declarations, but with small moments of trust." Emma took Kanara's hand, no longer caring who saw. "Then let's make more moments," she replied. "Together." But as they worked to heal the new arrivals, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. Somewhere above them, forces were moving to ensure the truth stayed buried. The real enemy was still hidden, pulling strings from the shadows. And when they discovered what was happening in this underground sanctuary, they would stop at nothing to destroy it. Emma looked at Kanara, seeing her own determination reflected in those alien eyes. Whatever came next, they would face it as one. The love growing between them might be impossible, unprecedented, even dangerous, but it was also perhaps the only thing powerful enough to save both their worlds from the darkness to come. The underground facility's warning systems activated at midnight. Emma jolted awake in her quarters, instantly alert as red emergency lights pulsed through the corridors. Her tactical display showed multiple Earth warships entering orbit, far more than a standard patrol. They'd been discovered. Emma sprinted to the medical bay where Kanara was already mobilizing their staff, the healer's scales flickering with urgent patterns. "Earth Command knows," Emma said, breathless. "Someone leaked our location." "Not someone." Kanara's voice was grim as they manipulated a holographic display. "The same forces that engineered this war. Look." The display showed transmission data, evidence of encoded signals sent from within their facility. "We have a spy," Emma realized. "They've been watching us build peace between our peoples, waiting to strike." "The evacuation pods won't be enough," Kanara said. "Not for everyone." Their 4 eyes met Emma's with painful intensity. "You should go. Return to your people. Tell them what you've learned." "No." Emma's voice cracked with emotion. "I won't leave you." A massive explosion rocked the facility's upper levels. Through their bond, Emma felt Kanara's fear, not for themselves, but for their patients, for the fragile trust they'd built between their species, for Emma. "Lieutenant Winters." A familiar voice crackled over the facility's comm system. "General Richards, her former commanding officer. You are ordered to surrender the alien facility and terminate any resistance. Comply immediately." Emma's hand found Kanara's, their fingers intertwining. Through the touch, memories flooded between them, their first meeting on the battlefield, quiet moments of learning and healing, the growing recognition that what they felt transcended mere attraction. Love, impossible and beautiful, bridging the gap between stars. "This is Lieutenant Emma Winters," she responded, her voice steady. "The facility is under my protection. These people are healers, not combatants. Stand down. You're protecting the enemy, Lieutenant. This is treason." "No," Emma said. "I'm protecting the truth. About how this war started. About who really benefits from keeping our peoples divided." She squeezed Kanara's hand. "And I'm protecting someone I love." Silence filled the channel. "Then, you leave us no choice." The facility shook as orbital weapons locked on. Emma turned to Kanara, seeing her own fierce determination reflected in those alien eyes. "We need to get everyone to the deep bunkers." And then she took a deep breath. Then we show them what happens when a human and a Vatari work together. Kanara's scales rippled with complex emotions, pride, fear, love. Together, they agreed. They worked frantically to evacuate patients deeper underground as the bombardment intensified. Human and Vatari medical staff coordinated seamlessly, the barriers between species forgotten in crisis. The child who had first approached Kanara helped calm other children, showing them the healer's beautiful scale patterns to distract them from the chaos. But time was running out. The facility's shields were failing. Soon, drop ships would land assault teams. Emma and Kanara stood in the command center, reviewing their dwindling options. "There's one way," Kanara said finally. "The facility's quantum communications array. If we can broadcast the truth, the real evidence about how this war began, to both fleets simultaneously. They'll try to stop us," Emma warned. "The real enemy has agents in both governments. They've killed to keep this secret. Then we die trying." Kanara's scales shifted to a color Emma had never seen, absolute dedication. But first. The healer pulled Emma close, all four arms embracing her. Their minds merged through the contact, deeper than ever before. Emma gasped as she felt the full force of Kanara's love, vast as space itself, defying all barriers of biology and culture. She returned that love with equal intensity, letting Kanara feel how completely they had changed her understanding of everything. Above them, the shields began to fail. Drop ships would breach their defenses any minute. But in that moment, wrapped in each other's arms, they were stronger than any weapon. Their love was proof that change was possible, that ancient hatreds could yield to understanding. Together, they turned to face whatever came next. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. But they had already won the most important victory. They had shown that love could flourish in the most unlikely places, between the most different hearts. The quantum communications array hummed to life as Emma's fingers flew across the controls. Beside her, Kanara channeled power from the facility's remaining systems, their scales pulsing with determination. They had one chance to broadcast the truth before the assault teams breached their position. "Transmission ready," Emma announced. "But we'll need to drop our remaining shields to get enough power." "Do it," Kanara said. "I trust you." The moment the shields fell, explosions rocked the command center. Elite troops from both Earth and Vatari forces breached the walls simultaneously, weapons trained on the unlikely pair. "Step away from the controls," General Richards ordered, leading the Earth contingent. "This ends now." "No," Emma replied, standing tall beside Kanara. "This is where it begins." She activated the broadcast. Across every channel, on every ship in both fleets, the truth unfolded. Evidence streamed out, records of the engineered plague, proof of a shadowy organization profiting from the war, documentation of their attempts to sabotage peace. But more than that, the broadcast showed what was happening in the facility below, humans and Vatari working together, healing together, living proof that coexistence was possible. "Kill them," a voice screamed. A figure emerged from the Earth troops, Chief Intelligence Officer Reeves, his face contorted with rage. "Destroy the evidence." But as he raised his weapon, something extraordinary happened. The soldiers on both sides lowered their guns. They had seen too much, learned too much. The weight of truth was stronger than decades of conditioning. General Richards stepped forward, his weathered face showing the strain of decision. "Stand down, Reeves. It's over. It's never over." Reeves fired wildly, but Kanara moved with impossible speed, shielding Emma with their massive frame. The healer's scales flared with protective fury as they subdued Reeves with precise, non-lethal force. Through their bond, Emma felt Kanara's pain from the wound, but also their fierce joy. They had done it. The truth was free. Hours later, as peace talks began in orbit above them, Emma and Kanara stood in their restored medical bay. The facility was now a symbol of hope, the first joint human-Vatari healing center. Around them, doctors and patients from both species mingled freely, barriers crumbling with each passing moment. What happens now? Emma asked, watching a human doctor learn Vatari healing techniques from one of Kanara's colleagues. Now we build something new, Kanara replied, their scales shimmering with possibilities. Our peoples have much to learn from each other. And much to heal. Emma turned to face her love, marveling at how natural it felt now to reach up and touch Kanara's face. Through their connection flowed understanding deeper than words. They had changed everything, not through force of arms but through the simple, revolutionary act of seeing each other as people. The war is over, Emma said softly, but I'm not leaving. My place is here, helping to build this future. With you. Kanara's scales rippled with joy as they drew Emma close. Around them, the facility hummed with new life, new possibilities. Outside, ships from both fleets hung in peaceful formation for the first time in decades. Somewhere in the stars, other secrets waited to be uncovered, other bridges waited to be built. But here, in this moment, two hearts from different worlds beat as one. Their love had not just survived the fire of war, it had transformed it into something new. Something beautiful. Something that would light the way forward for generations to come. As Emma and Kanara sealed their commitment with a touch that bridged the gap between stars, they knew this was not an ending, but a beginning. The real work, of healing, of understanding, of building lasting peace, lay ahead. But they would face it together, proving with every breath that love truly knows no boundaries. In the end, it was not weapons or walls that changed their worlds, but the simple courage to reach across the divide and recognize themselves in the other. And in that recognition, they found not just love, but hope for all their people's tomorrows.